Today I'm going to show you what we can do with layers. How to duplicate layers, how to manipulate layers, how to resize them and move them around. And we're going to do that by using these parts to make a pizza. So I'm going to review making selections because you're going to have to select all these things, but then we're going to take those parts and do a little bit more with them. Okay, so to get started, first we need a place to put all these pizza pieces, right? So to do that, we're gonna go up to File and then to New. And this is something we haven't really done before. We've always File and then Open. We've opened lots of picture files, but what if we wanna create something brand spanking new? What we're gonna do is we're gonna come in here, we'll go ahead and call this Pizza Project. Your width is going to be 8, and then make sure you change this to inches. So 8 by 8 inches, and then the DPI is going to be 150. So once you have that, go ahead and click create, and you should end up with this square right here. And the way Photopea and Photoshop works is you're going to have two basically tabs now at the top, and you can toggle between the two. So there's one project, and then here's your other project. Okay, so we're going to go back to this introduction to layers. And the first thing we're going to do is we have to select the bottommost piece, which would be our crust. Okay, so I'm going to grab what's easiest for me is just the ellipse tool. If you have one that you'd rather use, feel free to do that. But for the ellipse tool, all I need to do is kind of just pick a side, left or right, and then just drag it around. And if I don't get it perfect, that's okay. Like I'm just going to get it close. I might move it just a little bit and try to get it a little bit better. But again, don't worry too much about it. So once I have my selection, you'll see those marching ants. Now, if you're doing this on Photoshop, you get to sort of skip this next step. But for us on Photopea, what we need to do is we need to take this and we actually need to turn it into a layer. So in order to do that, the shortcut is Command or Control J. Okay, and what you'll see is you'll see that now I have background and I also have layer 1. Okay, so I've turned that pizza and the crust into a layer. And I'm actually going to do that with all these pieces, but I'll come right back to it. Now, if you have Photoshop, you didn't need to do that. You would just have that selection, but then we would grab our arrow tool right here and we would take it and move it. And just I'm holding onto my mouse, and then I'm just going to bring it right back down and into here. Okay, so now I have again my new project, and I have this blank white background, and then the layer is sitting on top of it. Now I want this to fill the space. Okay, so I'm going to this semester I'm going to be teaching you a few more shortcut commands because I think it makes your workflow a little easier. So the long way is here, edit, and then free transform. Okay, if you are on Photoshop, you can just hit Command or Control T. Okay, if you are on Photopea, you could also just click right there where it says Transform Controls. Now watch what happens if I don't hold my space bar down. It gets all distorted and wonky, but if I hold the space bar down, it locks it into its shape. Okay, so it keeps it at proportion. So you always want to grab it from one of the 4 outer corners, okay? Because even if I'm holding shift, if I grab it from this point here, it will still distort it, okay? So I'm just going to grab from one of the 4 outer corners and make it fill this space as best as I can. And then when I have it how I like it, you have to hit that check mark up at the top, okay? So I've done that. I can even go back in and uncheck this transform controls. That way it's gone. And then I have my pizza crust. So I'm going to basically be repeating this over and over again. So now I got to go to my next layer. Okay, so I got to think about how these go. But let's just say, I'm going to go out of order for a second. Let's go ahead and grab, I'm going to use that ellipse tool again because I want to make sure this is circular. But I'm going to come in here, and if I hold the shift key down, I get a perfect circle. So I'm just going to do that right in the middle of my cheese here, right? And then I'm going to press Command or Control J to get my duplicate. Oops. You have to make sure, and I'm glad that just happened. You have to make sure you're clicked on the background layer before you duplicate anything, okay? So now I have my cheese layer, and I can even go over here into my layers and I can label them cheese. That way it makes it a little simpler. And then I'll grab that arrow tool and I just have to click and bring it back to my pizza project and drop it in there. Again, I can add those transform controls. I'm holding shift while I do this, but I can add cheese to my pizza. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go back over here and I need to get this sauce. So again, I'm still using the same tool. Everything's a circle today. So lots of the ellipse select tool. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab just the sauce. So let's see. I don't want any of the bowl at all because I definitely don't want that in my pizza. So there's that. Again, I'm going to come over to this layers palette. I'm going to make sure I'm clicked on the background before I do anything else. Command or Control J. I have my new layer. I can call it sauce. And if I wanted to, I can go ahead and make all my selections right now, you know, while I'm at it. So I can do the pepperoni slice right now. Oops. I'm going to try not to have any of the white in there because that might look a little weird. Again, go back to background, Command or Control J, and now I have my pepperoni. I can't seem to spell right now. And then with these other two, I might need something just slightly different. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So that's Command or Control plus. And I'm going to come in and I'm probably going to try out my magic wand tool and see what happens. Make sure you're clicked on your background before you do this. I'm going to come in here and just kind of click on my bell pepper. Now it's not grabbing as much of it as I want, so I'm holding shift and kind of going around and making sure it gets it all. Probably not the cleanest way to do it, but it'll get the job done. Okay. Getting most of it. Doesn't want to get all of it though. It's starting to. Okay, so like let's just say I've got it. And then I'm going to hit again Command or Control T. Oops. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hit Command or Control J. And now I have my bell pepper. Okay. And then I'm going to do this whole thing again with a mushroom. And I can use any mushroom that I want to. So I'm going to come in here. And that didn't work so well. So I'm probably going to have to start this slightly different. So I'm going to go to Select and then Deselect. And I'm going to start by maybe grabbing my rectangle select tool and then making a decision on which one I want. So I'll do that. And then I'll come in here with my wand and I'll click in the outside area, holding Alt, and just kind of get rid of what I don't want. Trying to anyway. And then maybe adding a bit more into here. Doesn't seem like it wants to do it completely for me. You know, I think a better choice on this would be my lasso tool. So I'm going to just go back in and just kind of draw around this shape as best I can. And I'm not really looking for perfection here because this is more about layers than making selections. But there's my mushroom now. So again, Command or Control J. And I'll just call this one mushroom. And now I can start bringing everything over, okay? So I already have my background, or my crust. Okay, and I already have my cheese. But let's say I just want to start with my mushroom and grab it and bring it to my pizza project. And then drop it in wherever it went. See, you can add those transform controls just so we can see it. Okay, so there it is. And if I wanted to, I could add a whole lot more of these just by simply duplicating that layer. So Command or Control J, and I could do it like a bunch of times. If I look at my layers palette, now I have a whole bunch of these copies, but I can come in and kind of sprinkle them around wherever I want to put them. Okay, so basically, you know, it's like the toppings on a pizza. And then if I go back to here, if I want to get the sauce, what I would do is I need to again grab that arrow tool, but I got to make sure I'm on the right layer next. So if I click on sauce right here, I can click on it and then drag it up to the pizza project and drop it into place. And once it's over here, I can kind of work with the sizing of it. You know, and kind of stretch it out to fit. Now look at what happened. It's sitting on top of everything else. So I'm going to hit that check mark. But the way it's happening is if I look over here in my layers palette, basically whatever's sitting here on top is going to be the first thing you see. So you can take these layers now and restack them. So I'm going to take that one, I'm going to put it closer to the bottom so that it's underneath the cheese, right? So now I have this crust underneath, then I have the sauce layer, and now I have cheese on top of that, and all the mushrooms are here. So the next thing I'm going to do is go back, and I'm just going to continue grabbing all the different parts. So if I click on pepperoni, right, using that arrow tool, I can now grab that and I can bring that over and drop that into place. Now I have to make sure I'm clicked on it. And if you see this, if I look over here, my layers palette, I can't see the pepperoni layer because it's below the cheese. So I would have to take it and move it up. And now it's over here somewhere, but I can find it and kind of put it where it needs to go. And then just like before, I can make duplicates of this layer simply by pressing Command or Control J. And then I just have to move them around. Okay, and then like let's say I want that mushroom to be on top of it. I can click on that mushroom, okay, because I have auto select on, which allows me to click on any individual layer as I do it, right? But say I want that mushroom on top. If I click on it to select, it'll show me where it is in the layers palette, and I can just take that and bring it up to the top. So now it's sitting on top of whatever was there before, okay? And then I'm just going to continue doing this. So the next one will be the bell pepper. And take that, bring that over to the project, and drop it into place. Now again, where did it go? It's up here at the top, but it's all the way over there. So we need to bring that in. Okay, and then you can duplicate that, Command or Control J. And then you can start moving those around. Okay, so bottom line, you're making a pizza and you're gonna have a whole bunch of layers over here with all of your different toppings, but you're gonna make this work for you. Okay, so I just want you to pay attention to how, like, if anything is above something else, look at how much it changes. Okay, simply by dragging and dropping these individual layers, you can see exactly what you'll see first, what's on top of something else, and what's below other areas. Okay, so that is layers.